Hey everyone.
Hello.
I was just coming in here to test the system, but looks like there are some of you already interested to be here earlier. So how is everyone doing?
Doing good.
Hi. You guys staying here in Tyler or somewhere else?
I'm driving from Longview, but it's not that bad.
All right. I'm glad everyone is safe and sound. And as I said, for the ones who just joined in now, we'll start at exactly at 11:15. But again, if you guys have any question from now till 11:15, please let me know. All right. Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hears me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. Can you see the PDF file that I'm sharing?
Yes.
All right. Well, as I say, good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well in this very first day of fall 2020. Believe it or not, we are at the end of August. I hope everyone was doing well during this hard time. Again, everyone, I'm sure you have multiple stories to share, but is everyone doing well overall?
Yes,
All right.
sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm hearing nodding, and yes. All right. That's good. So, um, before I get going with anything, I hope everyone had an access to Canvas, and apparently, if you are here, you do have an access to Canvas. But for the ones who are not here and you may be contacting them, or you have any other means besides me contacting them via Canvas, please let them know that everything uh, will be here on Canvas, at least as a mean of communication. That doesn't mean you cannot stop by my office. You feel more than welcome again to come. Just let me know, and I would ask you respectfully to wear a mask uh, coming to the office. So I posted, as all of you saw, again the welcome message here that the class it will be in a hybrid format. So the plan is to have the lectures, online lectures, that they are uh, um, live Zoom, which we what we call now synchronous Zoom on Mondays, and on Wednesday morning we will have a recorded lecture, also posted on Canvas as a link. But for the lab, this is where it gets interesting. For the lab, we will have to meet somehow. In case some of you might have lots of questions, how about if I'm not comfortable and this and that? So I think we will deal with these cases again as a case by case cases. Uh, Again, I'm not saying if there is something really preventing you from coming. Again, you need to discuss that with me personally. Uh, so many of you know that I have a 3-year-old daughter that she does have a genetic condition, and she was one of the cases that she has underlying condition, and that's why I'm doing this hybrid format. I wish if I could have done like half and half, like half of you would come on Monday and the other half would watch on Zoom, and Wednesday would do vice versa. But uh, I got the letter from her doctor and from all the way from Pennsylvania. The specialist, he says I would not recommend you to do so, even for the lab. But I think I so far I'm not seeing any alternative but meeting you guys, because I think labs are hands-on, and I think it would be beneficial for me and you to meet. How are we going to do the labs? Again, I'm still trying to figure it out, but I think as I mentioned briefly in the welcome message here, we're going to try to split the class into two halves. Um, so the theoretical part of the lab, it will be posted as a video about 24 hours before the lab. So this is going to tell you overall what are we going to do, what are the main procedure, but then I would still like to meet with you briefly, and maybe for 15 to 20, 30 minutes, depend on the lab. And the way we do this with a social distance concept being in mind is we're going to split the class into two halves. And as I mentioned also in the welcome message, some of you may like, okay, when I get done with the first hour, or why am I stuck in the second hour all the time? That's why I'm going to decide to flip them again every other week. You will be attending the first hour versus the second hour. Can you hear me well so far? All right. So so in order to split the class into halves, I want you, and again, I'm not going to take the initiative in this, so I want to give you the freedom to do that, is to gather in groups. The good thing about this lab is going to be done in groups. The submissions are going to be also done in groups. We have about 30 people here, 28 students, undergrads, and 2 students, graduate students. So I have about 30 over 6. So that's 5 per group. Typically, we like to have about 6 groups. So between now and by the end of tomorrow, by the end of Tuesday, let's say by 5 p.m. of Tuesday, if you guys would be able to email each other and come up with a group of 5 and send, and each one of the one member out of the 5 can send me an email. This is a group that we're gonna stick together for till the end of the semester doing all the labs. That would help me to get now the 6 groups, and then I'm gonna pick 3 groups to meet early on at the very first hour, and then once they are done, they can the second group can come in. So some of you may ask, how about this 2:30 till 3:30? Am I really gonna stay for 1 hour? Again, it depends on the topic. So my advice for the students in the second batch that they were supposed to come from 3:30 to 4:30 to be somehow in the corridor or close by. So if the first group are done in 15 minutes, which happens in some cases, then they can just leave and the other group comes at, say, like 2:45 or 3 p.m. Make sense? All right. Any questions so far? All right. I hear none. What else I wanna mention? For the Zoom sessions, I'll keep sending new links just in case and for security purposes, and we wanna avoid any Zoom bombing effects here or any negative things. So I decided to come up with a new link every time. We will have the Monday lecture. What else I wanna? So again, everyone should have access to Canvas. Yes, submissions of homeworks and labs will be via Canvas. You don't have to print anything. I don't know, let me try to move this because I have you guys in one screen and the slides in one screen, so I look weird when I try to look at you. All right, I don't know, maybe this is somewhere in between. So when I ask you to submit a lab report, the lab report, again, I'm expecting 6 lab reports, 1 per group. For the homeworks are going to be individual, of course, and all of them will be submitted through Canvas. If you go here to assignments, and I just published this like 10 minutes before the class, you're going to see we're going to have 4 homeworks max. You see now the point system. We have the points, we have the deadline. Everything will be submitted through Canvas. That doesn't mean you have to type it. Most of you have taken classes with me before. If you type it, you're gonna get a 5% extra. So if you feel you're in a rush, you just wanna write it down on a piece of paper and screenshot it and then put it on Canvas. That's okay. That's not gonna prevent you from getting the full credit, but again, you can get extra credit if you were to type it. I will try to keep up also with grading and putting everything on Canvas, so that wouldn't be something unknown till the end of the semester. Some of you also did not like me using the mouse and trying to draw things on the mouse using the mouse last semester. I get that, and I think I would be frustrated if I was in your shoes. So I'm getting more assistance from the department. I'm probably trying to get an iPad sometime soon, so I'm gonna have the fancy pencil, so things will be smoother this semester compared to last semester. Labs also are gonna be here. Not every single lab is gonna have submission, but those are the labs that will be associated with submissions. The due dates for labs are not assigned yet. I'll assign them soon. Modules. Here I put all the lectures. So from chapter 1, you're gonna see that the chapters are they do not necessarily follow the textbook order, but this is the order that we're gonna go through. The labs also are here. These are the document. There are 1 document per lab, just to give you an idea. What is it all about? Okay, what else here? So assignments, modules, and this gets us to the syllabus. If you can click on the syllabus, if you want to download it, I think it will get downloaded anyways. All right. So again, this class is a 4,000 level course. Most of our 4,000 level courses, they are combined with graduate students. Again, for this class in particular, we only have 2 graduate students, and the rest are undergrads. Are we gonna have office hours? Definitely, we're gonna have office hours. I am a big fan of office hours. There's so many of you used to stop by, and that still will continue. For office hours, again, there will be Monday through Wednesday from 12:30 till 2 via Zoom or by an appointment. So basically, how is it gonna work? If you are interested to come in this time, just send me an email, just 15 minutes maximum before you're planning to come, and then I'll open the Zoom. I'm not gonna send a link for those in particular. So what's gonna happen is you are gonna request to meet with me virtually. I'm gonna send you, I'm gonna add you to the Zoom meeting right there, and again, I'll be available at that time or by an appointment. Again, you guys have 12, 16 hours or more. So if that doesn't fit your schedule, just again, as always, shoot me an email and we're gonna set up a meeting. If you are not a big fan of the whole Zoom thing and you want to stop by the office, that's totally fine. And we can do that. For the ones who just joined in, as I said, I would highly recommend you if you can come up with a mask, or if you don't have a mask, I can provide you with one when you arrive. Lecture times, again, it's going to be still Monday, Wednesday, 11:15 till 12:10. Zoom synchronous on Monday, and Zoom asynchronous, which is recorded session on Wednesday. And again, the lab, as I just talked about. Exams, we're still working on getting the exams. I think the exams will be here on campus. So probably we're gonna split the you guys, again, about 30 people or so, into 2 rooms, just to make sure that you're social distant. At the same time, you will be doing your exams here on campus, unless again something changes. But that's the plan, and we'll give you more details when we get done with finalizing the exam planning. Again, Canvas, make Canvas your friend. I think you're gonna make use of it this semester way more than any other semester, not just for this course, for all the other courses. The objectives, again, I'll talk about the objectives more in the PowerPoint slides. The prerequisites, I hope everyone who is here who took 3351, the textbook, it's the traffic engineering, and this is the textbook right here, traffic engineering by Rose. It's the 4th edition. If you want to get the more recent edition, that's fine, but I'm fine with the 4th edition. The 4th edition is more than sufficient, and I'll be assigning homeworks and even picking exam questions from the textbook. So again, you have the ISBN number here if you wanna get that. But I think it's a good book, especially for the ones who are planning to maybe work as traffic or pavement engineers in the future. There is multiple other supplemental textbooks, especially the first one. This one is very important for towards the end of the class. You do not have to buy it. I'll provide you with all what you need. But it's a good book if you wanna, if you have some extra resources to get the book. It's a very good book. But we have, I think, a couple copies in the library. And again, I'll be providing 99% of what you need from that book. There's other resources here or supplemental references that you can get them easily by visiting certain federal websites or Texas websites, such as the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control, the 2009 edition, and other handouts. The schedule, and I'll put a big question mark on the word tentative here. Again, we've seen, we used to put that word lightly in previous semesters, but this one, again, I think we don't know whether We're gonna have again a fully functional semester, like we can meet at least for labs, and you guys have maybe other courses that you're meeting in person. For the ones who may ask, what happens if we have multiple cases of COVID on campus? What's gonna happen? I really don't know. That answer, the answer to this question is above my pay grade. We will get to hear about this if, but God forbid, if again if the numbers are increasing. I hope that's not the case. But if things again, either or, whether we're gonna do it half and half, live Zoom or synchronous, asynchronous, and the labs are gonna get to see you guys or not. These are the topics that will be covered, and no matter what modality we're going to end up using. We're going to start with the chapter 1 and then chapter 5, and we're going to have again the labs. We have Labor Day on September 7th, and there's no class at that day. The exams are preset. Exam 1 will be on October 5th. Exam 2 will be on November 9th. We're going to have, after Thanksgiving, there's no labs or nothing actually. Everything is going to turn to be fully online. For this class, you're not going to feel a difference because it's again some sort of hybrid, but we're going to finish the last lab just before Thanksgiving, and that will be November 18. Questions so far? All right. So here again, this is the 4th page of the syllabus. Exam 1 and Exam 2 again are preset. Final exam still to be continued. Homeworks. Again, the due date again, it's already there on Canvas. And again, the 5% extra credit is going to stay the same as I used it before in 3351. For graduate students, not sure again if the two of them are here or not, but we can have a term paper, and term paper topic will be assigned by mid-September, so it's about in 2 to 3 weeks from now. The lab, again, we're going to meet in RBS 1031, at least for the first 2/3 of the semester. We're going to still meet on 1031 because it's mainly for the top part of the lab portion. It will be assigning you to do some field work. For example, we're going to do fun activities like micro tally. Let me grab that here if I have it, or maybe I don't have it here in the office. It's the micro tally is an equipment that we're going to measure the amount of movements at certain intersections here in the city. Typically, we pick someone that's some intersection that's very close to the campus. I've used before University Boulevard and Old Omen. And then we're going to do a speed radar gun test. We're going to do a parking study. We're going to do an accident study. And then towards the end, we're going to move from RBS 1031 to the pavements or slash the soils lab. But again, we will be meeting in 1031. And as I said, once we assign, the first 3 groups are going to come in, and the other 3 groups, I would, if I were in your shoes again, I would wait a little bit away from the room. So once you see the first half leave, you can just come in. How are we going to grade this class? Here we have the homeworks and quizzes are 20% of your grade. 10% is professional practice. I will be taking absence, not every single time we meet synchronously, but I have a way to know here through Zoom who attended and who did not, and also submitting things online on time. That's going to be part of the 10% professional practice. We're going to have 2 midterm exams, 30%, which is 15% each. The final exam will be 20%, and then the lab reports are going to be 20%. For the graduate students, is a little different numbers here. So the homeworks are 10%, the professional practice is 5, midterm exams, again, 15 each. Final exam is 20, labs is 20, but the term paper is 15%. I'll leave that to you here just to read it more. But the calculators, again, we're not going to allow any certain calculators, but there are certain calculators that they are um, approved by NCEAS, which is we're trying to prepare you here for the FE and eventually the PE exam, and what's allowed and what's not allowed. You're not going to need really a fancy calculator for this class anyways, but it's better to get adjusted to know what are the allowable calculators that you will need for this class. So those are the types that is going to be allowable. We're going to check what you have versus what we're allowing. I hope that wouldn't be the case for anyone here. But if you want to withdraw, the last day to withdraw from the class will be November 2nd. So just to make sure that you're going to have the W instead of having a grade for the class. Since the date will be September 4th. Then I'll leave you with some university policies and additional information. Honor code and the campus carry and tobacco-free university and so on and so forth, all the way to two brand new pieces that you did not see before. This here important COVID information for classrooms and laboratories, including recording. We again, as you could tell, I'm recording this, that we may use it in other venues if needed, or maybe if someone did not make it today and they will ask for a copy of that lecture, then I can look into providing that to them. But as I'm talking to you now, I have two screens. One has your pictures or your and your names, and the other is the one that I'm sharing. So whatever is the recording is happening now is recording me, my voice, my video, and what are the only one of the screen. So your information, your names, your pictures is not shared here. The lab requirements, again, this is just one page here just to let you know how am I gonna grade the labs. Any questions about the syllabus? No questions? All right, I think we can then get going with the first lecture. And I will move this here. All right, so this is 4351, traffic engineering operation and control. The class is a continuation of 3351. We're going to see some build up of what we've learned, but also we're going to see some brand new topics that we're just introducing it to you now. So let's start with chapter 1. Again, chapter 1 from the textbook that I mentioned. The objectives or the major objectives for this chapter. First, we're going to define what does it mean to be a traffic engineer as a profession. And so many of you here will, as another example is, again, even myself, when I finished my undergrad, I was concentrating on structural engineering, and I thought I'll be a structural engineering. With all respect to structural engineering, I shifted gears when I did my master's and doctorate degree in Arizona State, and I changed to pavement / transportation engineers. I've been here, this is my 7th year at UT Tyler. I can't believe it, but time flies. And so many of our students, they want to be structural engineers, or they want to be other professions within the civil engineering, and they end up being transportation engineers. So be prepared. There's a lot of demand here in Texas, let alone in the whole nation, to build and maintain our infrastructure and roadway network. So we need to know, what does it mean really to be a traffic engineer in particular. We're going to also know what's the transportation systems that we handle and what's their function. We're going to have a little bit of history about the highway legislation, and again, the background about that, and then what are the elements of any traffic engineering situation that we may deal with as as transportation engineers. What are the modern problems for traffic engineers? We're going to get to know some of the standard practices and references for traffic engineers and the units. And I'll let that question to you here all the way towards the end. Are we going to end up using metric units or US units for traffic engineering? All right. So traffic engineering is it's that specific phase of transportation engineering that deals with so many aspects, including planning. So how can I plan for a city? How can I plan? Um, I'm planning to have again a highway that goes through this location, and therefore there will be in the future high demand on this location. More businesses are going to go to that location. Even now, more um, contractors and more people will be interested even to live nearby that highway. So you need to plan for that. Geometric design. As a traffic engineer, you need to handle some aspects of geometric design, which we covered big chunk of it in 3351, which includes horizontal alignments, vertical alignments, super elevation, side distance, and so on and so forth. But also as a traffic engineer, you may handle traffic operations of roads, streets, and highways. You can handle networks, terminals. You can also handle relation with other modes of transportation. We think traffic engineers is all about roadways, but also um, how can you link roadways to seaports or airports or other facilities. So it's a wide range. If you think again, it's very narrow. It's not. There's so many aspects. I have seen students. They're traffic engineers. Some of them are planners. Some of them are geometric designers. Some of them are deal with airport transportation. So it's pretty wide range. Regardless of all these ranges, or regardless of all of these backgrounds or aspects of traffic engineering, there is one particular goal for a traffic engineer that always have to maintain and keep in mind as number one priority, and that is safety. Safety for highway system is the utmost important aspect in our career as transportation and traffic engineers. In the recent years, in the recent decade or so, number of fatalities on U.S. highway system range somewhere between 40,000 and 43,000 per year. That's that's a ginormous number, and this is way more than what we lose in big wars all over the place. But the good news, at least, is um, this number used to be about 55,000 back in the 70s, believe it or not. So the amount of population were way less than now, amount of cars way less than now, yet we used to have, again, somewhere between 55 to 60,000 people dying on the streets 56 years ago. So again, you could see there is an improvement, and that improvement simply because, again, so many things that we're going to talk about, but still that number is high. 40,000 to 43,000 is high. And what's even, to make it even worse, the Texas portion of that number is really high. Somewhere in the order of 5 to 8,000 per year. So it doesn't happen. It's not really 40,000 over 50 states. It's actually Texas, again, is taking more than its own fair share of that tragedy that happens on highways. When it comes to fuel prices, again, rising fuel prices, this happens in 2008 to 2009. I'm not sure, again, if you guys were aware of what was going on back then, but I was just finishing my master's, starting my doctorate degree, and economy plunged, and fuel prices went up like crazy. I'm not sure here how much was the gallon here in Texas, but I was in Arizona and the west part of the country. We reached up to $5 per gallon. It was an expensive transaction to fill your car with gas at that time. The good side of it, though, is people start to cut down on their travel. They don't have to take a road trip from Texas to see their folks in Florida, or vice versa. So the number at that year, somewhere between 2008 and 2009, the number of millions or trillions of miles driven on highways dipped just under 3 trillion miles. 3 trillion miles. Again, it used to be 3.1, 3.05, and it was at that year, 2008, 2009, it was 2.95 or so. You may think this is a small reduction, but it's not. And the reason I'm saying it's not a small reduction, because number of fatalities dropped for the first time in history below than 40,000 fatalities per year. At that year, for the first time ever, again, it was 37,261 per year. So that was at least the good part of the economy recession at that time. Accident rates based on vehicles miles traveled are declining. The U.S. Motors always drive more and more per year. So you would expect that if we're driving more, we're going to have more exposure. Not like the exposure that we're talking about in the past 6 months. It's a different type of exposure. That exposure, the more you drive, the more chances you're going to get into an accident. That's just what it is. But the good news is, with a stable total number of fatalities that again ranges somewhere between 40 and 43,000 per year, that's actually a rate decline. If you think about it, the number of people are with a license is more, number of population is more, number of miles being driven is way more than before, yet the number of accidents or the number of fatalities are about the same. So if you really do the math, the ratio between fatalities versus how many people drove or how many miles been driven, the rate is declining per year, and that's a good thing. But are we there yet? Not really. Again, the number is still high, but at least we are somehow in the right direction. But there's a lot to do to improve and keep reducing that rate. Other reasons besides just people stopped driving that much at that year, other reasons behind that decline, we're starting now to be more serious regarding removing dangerous drivers off the road. There is DOI and DWI are more strict nowadays. Also, there is an improved vehicle design, and there's so many things now that's in our vehicles that were not there 10, 20, 30 years ago when our parents or even grandparents drove on the roadway. We have, again, padded dashboards, we have collapsible steering columns, seat belts. Even seat belts, you think it's a given. It wasn't up to late 80s. It was, if you want to choose to do it, go ahead. If not, again, it's your choice. But studies shows over and over that there's a need for it. Airbags and anti-lock braking system, and this list I feel I need to update it. There's so many other design aspects. Autonomous vehicles now are coming up, or some, even we have some models already. But even if you're trying to change from one lane to the other, if one of the options, I don't know what kind of car, but I drove it about a year ago. I was changing lanes and it didn't allow me. So the steering wheel will put me back to the lane because there was a car in the blind spot that I didn't see. So many of these aspects again will eventually help reducing this number. But again, we're in the midst of it. We're talking now about autonomous vehicles, even autonomous trucks. And there's a big research nowadays about this topic, because it's actually it's going to end up saving lives, but also besides lives, it's going to save lots of money because most of the fuel consumption of these 18-wheelers are because of the air that every truck has to face. For the ones, I hope again everyone still remember this in 3351, the aerodynamic force that the truck has to have that much power to resist it. So imagine now, instead of if you have your own fleet of 10 trucks, and if every truck is going to spend, let's say, one gallon you're gonna 1 gallon is gonna be used for 10 miles. So times again, if you have 10 vehicles, you're gonna spend that much um, times 10. Everything is multiplied by how many trucks you have. But now if you have autonomous connected trucks, the idea here is, instead of having trucks far away from each other like what we have now on any interstate, let's say we're trying to keep good distance between each truck. Now with the autonomous connected vehicles, they're going to be very close to each other, to an extent that the first vehicle only is going to spend that much fuel, but the rest of the trucks, because they're going to be behinding or hiding behind the first truck, they're not going to spend that much fuel anymore. And that's a lot of fuel saving. But again, there's lots of um, talk about it, and there's even impact on the pavement itself. Uh, Pavement is a viscoelastic material. It can heal or it can rebound, if you will, um, with time. If you give it time, even if it's 5 to 10 seconds between each consecutive vehicle. Now we're not going to have this. What's going to happen to the pavement? How about the wandering effect? Let's say again, Luisa will drive exactly in the center, but Nolan, he maybe is gonna wander maybe 6 inches to the right, and Jade, she's gonna wander maybe 4 inches to the left. Does that wandering effect? Actually, it's a good thing for the pavement at least, because if you're wandering, you're really distributing the amount of damage among the 12 feet pavement lane. But now if you have everything is computerized, everything is just, they are perfectly aligned in the middle of that lane, what's going to happen to the pavement? It's going to fail early, simply because now there is a concentration of loading at certain location, at certain spot at that lane, and we're going to have issues. So it's going to be interesting, but again, it's a combination between added safety and accelerated damage. But again, the added safety, if we end up really reducing the amount of fatalities, that money that we save, we can put it into maintaining our pavement network in a better situation. But again, it's still under research, but the good thing is it's going to be continuing to improve with time. This part here, again, it's a little bit outside our reach as transportation engineers, our traffic engineers, but this is here the improved highway design. This is where we can keep improving, and we have a big responsibility to enhance that with time. The improved highway design, again, we can advance the barrier systems, so they are not too rigid, or even having a barrier system in so many locations, including some locations here in Tyler. There is so many roadways that they are two directions, and there is not much of barrier between the two directions. So you can be the best driver ever, but if you have a careless driver in the opposite direction, a tragedy will happen no matter what. So we're trying to improve those. How can you add barrier system? How can you add flexible barrier system? So it's not like you hit it and there is a fatality right there just because of the impact of the hit, more than a cable system or some sort of a forgiving style of a barrier. Efficient traffic control also, instead of having every single intersection in the city as pre-timed, how can we have now more pixel cameras to adjust the green time and the yellow time, like what we talked about last semester? Now, how can we also have advanced surveillance system? So besides safety, if you really achieve safety, which should be your top priority, then there is other objectives that you need to achieve as well. So first one is the speed. Again, people want to get from point A to point B as fast as possible. Again, assuming safety is already achieved, but you need to think of that as well. How can you have as many lanes as possible, a wide lanes? How can you have a shoulder in case if there is an accident? We can move the involved vehicles on the shoulder and keep the flow continuous. All these should be as part of an objective. Speed, comfort, physical. What are the physical characteristics of the vehicle and the roadway that can make things comfortable while you're driving on it? convenience, how easy it is to make a trip. Economy, cheap. Again, you need to make sure that you're not letting the driver again wander in the middle of nowhere to get to where they want. Again, as short as possible, and this is gonna be make it a cheap option to be used and utilized. Environmental compatibility. Um, Again, going green, and how can we make use of materials um, like rubber or any other, or even the shingles on our homes when they get used, how can we crush them and we can add them again into the paving technologies. So all of these are important. Another interesting product that I did not work with before until last month. I don't know if you've thought of it or not, or that we can use in roadway paving is ocean plastic nets. So there's so many nets out there that they get used once, twice, 10 times, or maybe 100 times, and eventually fishers or the companies, they just leave it in the ocean. And what's sad about these nets, they continue to be autonomous nets. So they keep fishing for themselves. They catch fish, they catch turtles, and those fish eventually die because of the existence of those nets. So the idea that I'm working with a company in Houston, how can we get some of those nets from used nets? We crush them in 2 centimeters or an inch particle, and we heat them, we melt them with asphalt, and then we pave roads with it. So we're just starting this project. It's been almost a month now. We're getting some improved results actually. The asphalt now is more viscous. It can handle more temperature changes. If we add those heavily high polypropylene particles, which are plastics basically. So all these things you have to keep in mind. How can you make use of anything that we typically get rid of? If we can dump it in this pavement, and if it make the road better or the same, it's more than welcome to be utilized. Traffic engineers was also asked to achieve all of these objectives: safety, speed, comfort, convenience, economy, and compatibility to the environment, with making the appropriate trade-off to optimize. You need to maintain and operate the transportation system. You need to make good use of the public funds, and it ends up being a very fundamental ethical issue for any traffic engineer is to provide for the public safety through very positive programs, good practice, knowledge, and proper procedure. I've dealt for the first time with the public for the bike lane project, which we're about to submit all the plans. It's finalized during this summer. But we had 2 public meetings, and there was lots of back and forth between us as engineers and the city and the public. We made some changes based on what they provided to us, which is, again, everyone is appreciating this, and we told them plainly that we're not doing those public meetings just for time pass. This is a true meeting that we get the concerns of the public, and because public they sometimes they see things we do not see. They have maybe some concerns about safety that we may not fully consider it. So your job as a traffic engineer, you're going to end up dealing with people away from engineers, and that's you don't get to do this in many subdisciplines in engineering compared to traffic engineers. So be prepared that how can again you balance things, because you're really entrusted with lots of money, and how can you make use of it in the right way, in the safe way, and also with the public encouragement and agreement with most of what you decide to do. Any questions so far? All right. Transportation systems and their functions. So every year, believe it or not, we collect, or the federal government rather, collect 90 billion years that they get from road users like me and you, from through taxes and fees. Most of this big chunk of money, it comes from the the gas tax money. So every gas gallon that you pump into your vehicle, there is certain amount of cents. I believe the current number now is about 18 point something cents per gallon. That's taken and put into a federal bank account that's been used over and over to maintain our network. But the growth of the travel vehicle miles kept increasing, and that's the challenge here, that the number of amount of cents per gallon is about constant since 1920s, although again, the growth is continuing, which is a very fundamental problem for any traffic engineers. There is always a need to address alternative modes of transportation, and instead of having 500,000 people in Dallas to drive their cars every day in the morning and coming back, one person per vehicle, we're trying now to have more alternative modes of transportation, buses, light rails, um, high occupancy vehicles, and so on and so forth. Otherwise, we really need to think really outside the box to handle the demand. This is here what I've talked briefly about in the first couple slides. Some of the statistics here comparing 2007, which was just pre the economic collapse back then, and 2008. So the miles of public roadways, it was about the same. We have about 4 million miles of roadways. Vehicle mile travel. So we usually, again, in the past 10 years or so, we tend to have 3.05 trillion miles driven per year. For 2008, it dipped. Now it reached 2.93 trillions. The total population was still going up from 301 millions to 304. So it's not because the population is going down. That's not the case. The licensed driver also went the same percentage. See here, 301 to 304, 3 million increase. Same thing from 205 to 208. So every year we're gaining 3 million more new drivers. So that was still going on. So everything was increasing. The only thing is really decreased is the number of miles driven. So this is the only thing that decreased. And this is here the number that I want to concentrate on. Number of fatalities in 2007 was 41,000. And in 2008 is 37,000. So at least 4,000 lives less in 2008 compared to 2007. You're gonna ask me what happened in 2009 or 2010? Numbers went back up again because of more exposure. This is here the a picture that shows you from 1920, so almost 100 years ago, worth of data, from 1920 all the way till now. The dark continuous line here, this is the vehicle miles traveled. So as you could see, the number of vehicle miles just going to continue to grow, while this one here, the public road mileage, is growing, but not as high as the vehicle miles driven. And again, we are in a truck state here, so again, it's very hard to convince people yet to move from from driving their own vehicles to drive public transportation. But we've seen it now more in Dallas, in Austin, in Houston, and now with the big light rail or rail system that's going to go from Dallas to Houston, that also can change the game a little bit, at least for Texas. And other states are doing similar projects as well. Transportation demand is related to two things. Demand will always keep increasing because of land use patterns and available transportation facilities. So whenever which is basically it's all about zoning. So I don't know if so many of you know, so zoning, like there's every piece of land, let's say in Tyler, it has a different designation that I cannot use this land to do whatever. There's certain land is residential, so you can only build homes in this location. There's other places you can only build malls and hospitals or offices or roadways. So that's land use pattern, and it changes sometimes with time. Sometimes we change the pattern by the need and it has to be approved, of course, by the city council and so on and so forth. But what's interesting is whenever we build a new transportation system, when I say transportation system, again, it's a fancy word for building a roadway, basically. But it's a system in a way that it's not just a roadway, it has multiple lanes, there is a shoulder, there is signals. That's why we call it a system. But whenever we build a new one, the adjacent land all of a sudden become more accessible and become more attractive for any development. We've seen this over and over. For the ones who were here enough or early enough in Tyler, before we had the South Broadway, the village, South Broadway Mall, that Cumberland Road, it was not even there, at least the east part of it. Or at least, so once we add more roads, people now are going to be interested to move in. People are interested to have their businesses there. And building new transportation facilities will always lead to an increase of land use. So even, again, higher transportation demand. And we typically get into this loop right here. It's very hard to break through. We have transportation demand. Once we see that there is a demand, we do a traffic study like what you guys are going to be doing next week. We're going to do a transportation facilities. We need transportation facility. Once I build one, guess what? Now there's a land use. That land use now, people are going to move in. They need more. We build more, and so on and so forth. It's hard to break in, as I said. And a big example that happened in Long Island in New York. What happened there is, as they were building Long Island Expressway, development and of that suburban residential communities, within few years, 2 to 3 years, they exceeded the anticipated 20 years traffic demand. So you build a roadway that's supposed to handle, it's wide enough, it's nice enough, it's going to have that many lanes to handle 20 years worth of traffic growth, but then you're inviting much more people to come and invest and live there, and now they exceeded the demand within that short amount of time. So that's the way it is, and that's why we always, whenever you go, especially to Dallas or even here now, trying to add lanes, trying to keep increasing your transportation capability. Last thing here before I let you go, there are two things that you have to keep in mind, and both of them are functional, two functions that are important to maintain: mobility versus accessibility. And these are two different things, and I'll let you ponder around them more. But mobility is basically the ability to travel to many different destinations with a relative ease. You can go to so many places, and it's easy enough to get to those places. Accessibility is the ability to gain entry to a particular site. So again, there's some similarity, but they are a bit different between the two. And you have to maintain the two. This is just a table here for you to take a look at. This is the transportation system and the functions. We have lots of modes of transportation. The one that we handle the most is the automobile, of course. What's their function? What's the approximate range of capabilities? But there is so many other factors that, or so many other modes of transportation that can be used. All right, I'll stop here. And again, next time, which is gonna be on Wednesday, I'm gonna be recording the lecture on Wednesday. I'm gonna post it on Canvas. We're gonna discuss the history of the US network and other aspects. Any questions for now? Is everyone okay with having one live session on, I'll move this here now, one live session on Monday and one recorded session on Wednesday? Okay, so the good news for the first Wednesday lab, so we'll have some time. The first, if you take a look at, where is it? Can you guys still see the one that I'm sharing here, the PDF file? All right. So for the first Wednesday lab, it's basically introduction. You do not have to come. The whole class, you do not have to come. What I want you to do though is you will fill the if you go here to the assignments, not assignments, maybe it is the assignment. Let me see. No, not the assignment. Then the modules. If you go to modules and you click on the first lab, this is just an introduction, nothing much here. I want you to open the safety policy contract. I think you've done that before in some other labs. I'm pretty sure, at least in codes and specs. And then you're gonna read it, and please sign the last page. Sign the last page, and send it to me, or I'll create a location here on Canvas as a submission. So please, this is gonna be considered lab 1. There's no credit for it, but you need to sign that contract. All right. So what's next now? First homework is not there yet because I did not finish. So on Wednesday I'll finish the first chapter, and at the end of the first chapter I'll be announcing the homework. So there's no homework yet. But for the labs, I need by tomorrow 5 p.m. the groupings. For the ones who just came in late, I need the groups to be formed by tomorrow 5 p.m. Every group is going to have 5 students. If you cannot find a group, it's fine. Just let me know, and I'll eventually pick random persons to have to be in one group. But I thought it would be a good idea to leave that to you guys first. If you have again groups, or you can easily contact 5 among you here to have a group. I'll let you do that. But Wednesday morning, I'll confirm to everyone who's in your group and what time you're going to be coming, and so on and so forth. But for Wednesday, this Wednesday, 2 days from today, we're not going to meet neither on Zoom or on person, because the first class is just introductory. All what I need is just for you to sign the contract and send me the last page, which I'm going to create a Canvas submission page to just upload that. You can just take a picture or scan it and put it on Canvas. Any other questions?
So no lab this Wednesday?
Say that again.
We're not gonna have lab this Wednesday?
No. And it's not just because of what's going on. Again, I've taught this class for the 7th time. The first lab is typically just to sign the contract, and that's pretty much it. Students used to come at 2:30 and they leave at 2:35. So I would rather for you guys to keep it where you are, safe and healthy, and then we will meet in person the following Wednesday. Questions? All right. I hope again that this will be a good start of the semester. Please stay healthy. Please stay safe. If you want to reach out to me, if you have any general question, whether related to this class or anything else, let me know. If you are, by the way, interested in an internship in traffic engineering or transportation engineering, there is one internship available at Graver. Graver, it's in Dallas, a big company in Dallas. We have a UT Tyler alumni who is working there, and they have one internship. So if you're interested, just drop me an email and I'll get you more details about the internship. It's supposed to be for next summer, so hopefully we'll be done and over with what's the craziness that's going on now. Any last minute question? You know how to reach out to me via, again, email or call me at my office, and I'll post the lecture on Wednesday, and then we'll see you by Zoom live a week from today. All right, you guys, again, stay safe and stay healthy. Bye-bye.